When Emily stepped through the doorway that Sunday evening, suitcase in hand, she looked like someone straight out of a vacation ad. Her hair was tousled by the wind, her skin still glowing from days in the sun, and her smile, too wide, too bright, felt like a mask rather than a greeting. She wrapped her arms around me and kissed my cheek like she'd just come home to paradise. "God, it's so good to be back," she said with a laugh, setting her bags down by the door. I smiled, but not the kind that reaches your eyes. It was the kind of smile you wear when you already know the ending to the story, but you're giving the other person a chance to tell it anyway. "How was the trip?" I asked casually. "Absolutely amazing," she answered a little too quickly. "We went hiking, did a little wine tasting, just girl stuff." I gave a slight nod. "Sounds like a good time." Leaning against the counter, I lowered my voice and said, "Did you and Mike enjoy yourselves, too?" Her face froze. In that split second, before she could react, I saw it, the panic she couldn't hide. That flicker of guilt told me everything I'd feared was true. She stuttered. "Mike? Who's Mike?" But the quiver in her voice betrayed her. I didn't answer immediately. I just watched her fall apart, her hands trembling as she fumbled with her suitcase, as if zipping it open could somehow zip away the truth. I began slowly. "Mike, the guy you called 3 times last night, around 1:14 a.m., from a resort that just happens to be 2 hours from where your friends were staying." Her lips parted, eyes wide. "You looked through my phone?" I smiled calmly.
"No, Emily."
"You looked through my trust." She collapsed into a nearby chair, breath uneven, face strained. "It's not what you think," she whispered. The oldest line in the book. A phrase used by everyone who's ever been caught. "Then explain it to me," I said, my voice calm, almost too quiet. Because from where I'm standing, it looks like my wife went on a girls' trip with one extra guy. She covered her face with her hands and began to cry. But I'd seen these tears before. They didn't fall from sorrow. They came when the lies no longer worked. I didn't feel angry anymore. Just done. Eventually, the truth came in pieces. Mike was someone she used to work with. They'd reconnected. One drink turned into dinner. Dinner turned into a weekend. A mistake, she called it. I listened in silence, every word sinking into me like nails into the coffin of our marriage. When she finally stopped talking, I asked her one thing. Was it worth it? Her face streaked with mascara. She looked up and whispered, "No." I nodded. "Good," I said, "because it cost you everything." Then I turned and walked toward the hallway. My bags, already packed days before, were waiting by the door. She stared, stunned, like she hadn't considered that I might be the one leaving. "Where are you going?" she asked, her voice cracking. "Somewhere you don't get to follow," I replied. "The divorce papers are on the table. Signed." Her jaw dropped. "You filed?" "The day after you left," I said. I needed to know if my instincts were wrong. They weren't. She rushed toward me, grabbed my arm. "Please, it didn't mean anything. I swear. It was just a mistake." Her voice was full of panic. But it was too late for that. I pulled my arm away. "You don't accidentally betray someone who would have given you everything," I said. "You made a choice. Now live with it." Her sobs filled the room, echoing off the walls of the home we'd built together.
I didn't yell.
I didn't slam the door. I simply picked up my bags and walked out, leaving her behind to sit in the wreckage of her own decisions. In the weeks that followed, she tried everything: calls, texts, even showing up at my office. I didn't answer. Every message said the same thing: "Please. I'm sorry." But regret doesn't undo betrayal. I used to believe that love and loyalty went hand in hand. That if someone loved you, they'd never cross that line. I was wrong. Loyalty is a choice. And she made hers, for a man who vanished the moment consequences showed up. Months later, a friend told me Mike had moved out of state. He told Emily he wasn't looking for anything serious. The irony stung. She'd thrown away a marriage for someone who was never planning to stay. By then, I had found peace in a small apartment overlooking the city. It wasn't extravagant, but it was honest. Quiet.
Mine.
One day, she sent a long email full of apologies and begging for another chance. I read every word. Then I closed it without replying. At the bottom, she'd written, "You were right. You were the only one who ever truly loved me." Maybe I was. But love without respect isn't love. It's punishment. And I'd had enough of that. Looking back now, to the moment she walked in after her so-called girls' trip, smiling like nothing had happened, I realized that quiet question. Did you and Mike have fun? Wasn't about anger. It was closure. I didn't need to scream. I didn't need to prove a thing. She'd already lost the only thing that really mattered, my trust. And once that's gone, nothing else survives.